Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the June 6, 2013 Human Resources and Education Committee as a whole. Ms. Campbell, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hannigan,
Mr. Hennigan is out of town on a family matter.
Mrs. Hines,
Here.
Mr. Derman,
Here.
Mr. Loop,
Here.
Mr. Harrell,
Here.
Mrs. Tipton,
Here.
Mr. Jeter,
Here.
Mrs. Seeley,
Here.
Mr. Betancourt,
Here.
Mr. Womack,
Here.
Mr. Panks,
Mr. Panks is absent tonight.
Mr. Lamar, Mr. Alford,
Mr. Alford is absent as well.
Mrs. Bellisario,
Here.
Mrs. Mullet.
She's absent. Thank you. Mrs. Hines, would you give us the invocation and pledge?
Would you bow your heads with me, please? Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with us tonight as we come together for our meeting. We also ask that you be with our students and our employees as they enjoy their summer and spend plenty of time with their families and feel refreshed and ready for the fall. Please guide us in our decision-making this evening. Amen.
No.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There were no persons requesting time on the agenda, so we'll move for the approval of the minutes for the CAW meeting held on May 2nd, 2013. Do I hear a motion? Mrs. Hines moved it. Ms. Seeley, second. All in favor? All opposed? Any comments from the audience? Should have asked that first. And any abstains? Okay, so moved. We'll move to Human Resources job descriptions. Mr. Foles?
Thank you, Ms. Balsero. Mr. Jabbia is unable to be at tonight's meeting. He has a family illness, and in his absence tonight, I've asked Ms. Araby to share with you the job descriptions from Human Resources, since many of them deal with business affairs changes, and Ms. Araby and Ms. Fortenberry can answer any questions that you may have regarding that once she's finished. Ms. Araby?
Good evening. At your seats, you found two sets of job descriptions, one without any highlighting and the other set where they were highlighted. The highlighted ones are noting the changes. You will notice that through business affairs, there were about 7 positions that we did not replace throughout the year. And due to that, there has been some changes in their assignments and their duties, as well as maybe the particular people that they report to. So with that being said, it resulted in the need to reevaluate their job descriptions.
And I think if you go through each one, the highlighted areas on each ones are the changes that we made, just to kind of tweak and clean up the new responsibilities with the people that they answer to. This is just another continuation of us looking at our whole organization and streamlining where we can and making changes when someone either retires or leaves the school system, putting the proper people in there and making sure that we have the most bang for our buck. And that's what we're doing with these different positions that are available. So I'd ask you to look through them, and if you have any specific questions about who they report to or their responsibility, the job functions, Cheryl or Terry can answer that for you tonight.
Do we need a motion on this, Mr. Foles?
I think we need these
Yes.
approved as part of our process. There'll be later on, you'll see it as part of my salary schedule report as well. So can we just approve them there, or do we need them through here first?
I think
Well, I'll
we
make a
need to have
motion
the
now.
motion now at this meeting.
To approve.
I think Mr. Harrell said.
Okay. Yeah, Mr.
Is there any discussion? Okay. Is there any comment from the audience? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, so moved. We'll move to instruction. The first item we have is about Chevron. Dr. Sanford?
Evening, Ms. Belisario, Mr. Foltz, board members. One of our district's main goals this year has been our emphasis on making community connections. St. Tammany Parish Public Schools are a vital part of this vibrant community, which we call home. Our students, parents, and employees have supported our efforts to give back through fundraising efforts as exemplified through recent activities involving the Children's Museum, Hope House, CAPS for Kids, and the United Way. Countless volunteer hours are documented each year as the school system supports Toys for Tots, Special Olympics, and local food banks, just to name a few. While our main focus is to educate students, we take pride in nurturing civic responsibility and community endeavors. As soon as Chevron moved to the North Shore, they reached out to our school system to become a vital part of this community. Over the course of the past few years, Chevron has generously donated over $1.7 million to St. Tammany Parish Public Schools. They have allowed us to upgrade technology with these funds, provide professional development to our teachers, and implement STEM initiatives in many of our schools. We have presented information to you previously. I've come before the board. You've heard Mathlete's presentations, things about the Hornets, the STEM lab at Fontainebleau High School, but they also do a great service by providing mentors and those professionals who collaborate with our teachers, mentor our students, and provide volunteerism in our schools. Next year, I'm very pleased to say that we will have 6 Project Lead the Way schools in St. Tammany Parish, and those will be 4 at the junior high level: Boyette, Mandeville, Clearwood, and Fontainebleau. We will have 2 high schools, North Shore and Mandeville. The year previously, we only had 2 schools, so we're making tremendous progress. Project Lead the Way engages students in projects, hands-on activities, and problem-based learning. Students design, collaborate, build, discover, and solve problems while applying the math and science concepts that they've learned. During the week of the Zurich Classic, an informational commercial was aired nationally on the Golf Channel. It featured Mandeville Junior High's Project Lead the Way classroom. We tried to bring that video to you tonight, but unfortunately we're unable to get it. We will have it at another time. We would like to thank Chevron for including St. Tammany Public Schools in this joint venture. Chevron wants to inspire students in the lower grades, sparking interest, getting them engaged with STEM. This past year, through DonorsChoose.org, Chevron funded many grants for teachers for the purpose of classroom materials, especially those related to STEM. Examples include the Teaching Garden projects, which were at Florida Avenue and Abney Elementary Schools. The clip you are about to see is how the Fuel Your Schools program benefited Covington Elementary School.
Under the Fuel Our Schools and the STEM programs, Chevron provided a grant in conjunction with DonorsChoose.org. The funds will provide a variety of science lab enrichment activities to a 3rd grade class at Covington Elementary. Among the supplies donated are a variety of science lab accessories, such as a high-definition video camera, a weather station, microscope, safety goggles, and a collection of different kinds of rocks and minerals. This will allow for hands-on learning by the class that will in turn enrich student learning.
And it's nice when they're excited about learning and education. You know, again, The teachers are impacting our future leaders, so giving them the tools and resources to set them up for success is huge, and Chevron's proud to be a part of that.
They don't come any better than Chevron and the donor's choice to be involved as well. And this is what we do, and this is what we need. Our school system needs partnerships like this, and we've said it before, we can't do it alone, and this is a great example of that. Board members, tonight we have a special award that we would like to present to Chevron. We are calling this award our Education Impact Award, and I cannot think of a more deserving partner to honor tonight than Chevron. We thank them and their employees for all they do for the students of the St. Tammany Parish Public School System. They are the perfect community connection. Here tonight is Karen Rawls with Chevron, and we want to present this to her on behalf of all the people that work at Chevron and thank them so much for everything they do for our school system.
Good evening, Superintendent Falls, Dr. Sanford, Ms. Bess-Elrail, and board members, parents, and students. On behalf of Chevron, thank you for inviting us this evening to come in and share our philosophy and commitment to education. At Chevron, we work with local communities, government, strategic partners to increase learning opportunities for the students and support the social economic vitalities in the communities where we live and operate. Over the past 3 years, Chevron has contributed nearly $100 million in public education in the United States. And on behalf of the 3,500 employees and colleagues and contractors in the Gulf of Mexico, we're pleased to present a check of $50,000 to the St. Tammany Board. At Chevron, we believe in effective education, including focus on science, technology, engineering, and math, will foster the bright young talent and the future workforce and the vitality of our country. And Chevron's proud to be a part of that journey, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with the St. Tammany School Board. Thank you very much.
Let me say a special thank you to Regina, too, Sanford, who I know works very hard with Chevron and with Karen and make sure we do these kind of things. And as Regina said, what was it, 1.7? 1.7 million dollars plus this here tonight. And we're excited about the partnership. And I think what makes Chevron special is not just the money that they give, it's the people that they give, it's the belief in our school system that they have. Certainly the money is important to us, but seeing these professional people in our schools, encourage our students, and encouraging our administrators is as important as well. So we thank you for that, and we look forward to working with you some more. Thank you. Sure. Here's the big check.
On behalf of the board, Ms. Rawls, we would like to thank you. And I can't think of a better example of the community working together. We can't do it alone. Thank you. Our next is a Hope House presentation by Mrs. Sharp.
Good evening. Once again, it is time to report on our most recent Community Connection fundraising effort. As you know, our schools have done a great job of helping deserving organizations in our community while teaching our students the intrinsic benefit of public service. During the last quarter of this past school year, the designated recipient of our district-wide fundraiser event was Hope House, which is an extension of the Children's Advocacy Center. Before I introduce the staff and board members of the CAC, I would like to share a brief video prepared by Channel 13, which will help to explain what Hope House is and why it is such a special place for the young people of our parish.
The Children's Advocacy Center Hope House does exactly what its title says. It advocates for children who have been traumatized by physical or sexual abuse or by witnessing a crime or violent act. It's a place where children can disclose their experiences to a trained professional in a safe and comfortable atmosphere.
We were established in 1995 by a group out of the St. Tammany Exchange Club. It was part of a movement that happened nationally at that time, where it was seen there to be a need for a reduction of the trauma experienced by a child. And so a group of collective community members here in St. Tammany Parish wanted to establish a system to reduce that. And we were born out of that Hope House.
It's a little house, looks like Granny's house, with a white picket fence. And the families come here with the children, and they are invited in just like it's someone's home. They're made to feel comfortable. When it's time, the investigators, the law enforcement and child protection come here. It is their responsibility to watch the interview. It is their investigation. But they will go to a separate room where it's adjacent to the interview room.
And it is this interview room that provides a place of security and comfort for the children to share their story.
We offer forensic interviews that give them an opportunity to share their story while being videotaped and observed simultaneously by law enforcement and child protective services. What this does is allow the reduction of trauma experienced by a child, and they don't have to be interviewed multiple times.
Along with providing a safe place for children to share their stories, Hope House also has counseling rooms for victims and their families.
We have a counselor here. She is great. She is trained in play therapy. She is trained in family therapy, specializes in abuse, and she will see the families and the child individually and then as a family group to help them understand what has happened and how to deal with the situation.
It is here that young victims of abuse can begin to recover from their ordeal, while justice is sought against their abusers.
We are extremely excited and thankful, utterly thankful for the support that the school board has provided us in this way. It helps us to continue to provide the critical services that we do here at Hope House and serve this great community of St. Tammany Parish.
And it is this little white house with the picket fence, with rooms full of stuffed animals, friendly faces, and fun books to read, that our youngest and most vulnerable community members can begin to heal. In this house full of hope.
As you can see from the video, Hope House was a great choice for our fundraiser. On Friday, April 26th, our students and staff were encouraged to be a hero for Hope House. That day, by donating $1, students and staff could wear jeans to school and know that their donation would be going to help to continue the remarkable work at Hope House. At this time, I would like to introduce the people who are here tonight to represent Hope House. When I call your name, please stand. We have CAC board members Leanne Wall, Dr. Barbara Hebert, Lindy Stonecipher, staff member Liz Torman, Counselor Ernisha Lott, and Executive Director Bridget Deloche. Thank you for coming tonight. At this time, I'm going to ask Executive Director Bridget Deloche to please join Superintendent Foltz at the podium to receive a check of the amount of $16,782.54 collected by our students and staff. Let's get the check in front of us. Okay, and Mr. Foltz, if you will give them the real check. And would you like to have a few words?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening. Again, my name is Bridget Deloche. I am the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center, Hope House. And on behalf of our board, our staff, and the children we serve, thank you so much for raising these funds on our behalf. Child abuse thrives in an environment of fear and denial. It's uncomfortable to talk about. We deny that it's happening in our community. Thank you all for being the ultimate heroes for Hope House by creating a voice to this issue and giving us a platform to serve our community. We very much appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Board members, if you remember, this year we did 3 different parish-wide. We did our Children's Museum with the Black and Gold, Cats for Kids, and then the Hope House. And next year, we'll be bringing 4 different worthy organizations and doing it once 9 weeks as we've done this year. We formed a committee, people come in front of us, make their presentations, and then we select from that. And we're excited about the 4 that we have next year. And it's just amazing how generous our students and parents are to each of these organizations. And there are so many worthy organizations in St. Tammany Parish. It's certainly good that we do our part. And it's ironic, it's interesting, it's kind of what it's all about. Here's Chevron working with us to give us monies to help us, and then we in turn reach out to the community and share our responsibility as students and teachers and parents to give to other organizations such as Hope House. So it is really an important community connection that we're making with all the groups here tonight, and it's exciting to bring all this together as we finalize this school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is Federal Programs Unified Application NCLB IDEA, and I believe Ms. Araby is going to discuss this.
Good evening. It's that time of year again where we're here to present to you about our federal programs and the funding. First, I'd like to thank Jeannie Bauer, who, as you well know, works with our special ed department and who oversees the budgets and the writing of this under the direction, of course, Sharon Hosh. And then we have Lucy Bennon, who is here, who is our Title I director. And she works very closely with the budgets, and she works under the direction of Terry Meyer. So as you can see, they've been very, very busy, and I always appreciate the hard work that they do, because it's not only in assisting as we meet with committees of people of putting the budget together, but they certainly assist us in making sure that we are following through with what was decided at the beginning when the budget was formed, which is very, very important to all of us. So I want to thank them for all of their hard work and how they really keep us in line and make sure that we're following all the rules. So that's very important. So thank you to both of you. First of all, we have our goals, and these goals have not changed. They're aligned as far as what we all in St. Tammany Parish Public Schools want to accomplish. And that's for our students to enter kindergarten ready to learn, for students to arrive in 4th and 9th grade on time and ready, students on track to college in 9th and 11th grades, students, of course, graduating on time, and students will enroll in college or join the workforce, ready to go. Some of the strategies that we continue to use are data-driven decisions, curriculum and assessment alignment, job-embedded professional development, and college and career readiness. The funds from this grant allow us to do many of the great things that we do. Here are the money amounts that we receive from Title I, $5,438,455. Our Title II budget, $1,360,542. Our Title III, $102,310. Then we have our IDEA Part B amount is $8,395,806. Our IDEA Preschool, $197,039, and then our Extended School Summer School Year Program, $217,939. So let's look at our Title I and where that money is going. It's certainly a very great use at 23 of our Title I schools. They utilize these funds to support the student needs. Those decisions are typically made at the school, making sure that they're aligned to the goals that we have within our school system. Also, we're able to support our at-risk 4th grade students. This too may look differently at our schools. Focus on literacy and professional development. You may remember we speak of our literacy teachers often, and so this is where their pay is arranged. Also, parent involvement activities, which we know, getting the parents involved, that's a big part of students being successful. And so they have particular activities that they do use within their schools. We continue to help with tutoring services as well as our mental health provider services. Title II, as you can see here, we have 15 class size reduction teachers. These continue to assist our schools in helping with that class size, especially in those schools where we know that that's very, very important to some of our academic challenging students. We also have our new teacher induction program, which of course Dorable's been very, very busy in getting that together, and that has been an awesome success where this is preparing our teachers that are new to St. Tammany Parish and making sure that they're prepared and they understand how we go about doing business in our schools. Also, teacher collaboration and study groups, we know how important this is, as well as our design team work, which Amy Woosner continues to oversee, in making sure that that training is up to par, and as we have our continued relationship with the Schlechte Center. Title III is for our ESL student instruction, tutoring for our LEP students, and the professional development that we know is very necessary for our ESL teachers. As we move on to our IDEA Part B, and this particular money and how it's used, it's certainly it's a supplemental programs and staff to facilitate academic achievement. Here too, we're able to provide mental health provider services. We have our transition planning, our self-advocacy, interest inventory, career exploration, and materials. Staff development is of the utmost in this area, and I will say that this is not for our special ed teachers alone. We know how important it is for our regular ed teachers to have this training as well. We are one of those school systems that believe in as much inclusion that we can provide to our students, that they're going to be even better academically. When we come to our preschool allotment that you saw, this is for special education and related services for children with disabilities, and these are the students that are aged 3 to 5 years. This is for instruction and materials for our PEI, preschool early intervention classrooms. Our extended school year program, which is in full steam ahead this summer, and this is a summer program. This allows us to staff and to support eligible students with disabilities. It's also for that regression, recoupment, and critical point of instruction. That is how it is determined. It is an IEP decision, and the students then come on through the summer. I will say that we've done a great job over the last couple of years as we continue to talk about aligning our money. We've also been doing that with aligning our facilities. You no longer have a summer school, a LEAP school, a remediation school, a tutoring school, and an ESYP school. We have actually been able to provide these services typically at one site on each side of the district, and on occasion the numbers are higher. There may be 2 sites, but we've done a much better job of making sure that those resources are being used to the best of their ability. Also this year, this is different, but as they are continuing to put funding under that one umbrella with the federal money, Carl Perkins and JAG money is now underneath this combined grant. So Carl Perkins, you can see, is $344,243, and our JAG program, which we just presented to you last month, is $105,000. Denise Parker oversees this grant. We do know that it is a great benefit to our students. The grant itself, we will still be able to use those monies in the way that we have used them in the past, but they will just now come under this grant money in the combined federal programs. And as you can see, the money is aligned I do believe that as we have met with committees and we have continued to have the discussion of making sure that what we need to provide for the students here in St. Tammany Parish, that we have done a very, very good job of looking at all of our money while we've had to tighten our belt and making sure that we're getting the best use out of it as we provide services for our student. Always keep in mind, every child, every day, is in our decision-making as we meet with these committees and decide how the funds are spent. So if you have any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay. We'll start down with Mr. Dearman.
Thank you, Ms. Araby. Just quickly looking at the funding amount, that's about $15–16 million, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Approximately, if you add it, if you go down through the total.
And that represents about 2% of our budget, total budget.
About
Close.
2%. Yes, remembering this is a separate budget. This is
Right.
a grant, and we spend it separately.
But in comparison to our overall funding, it's about
$362 million is our
Right.
regular budget.
right. So, I mean, I think y'all doing a tremendous job with the funds that we are getting, and we need every dollar we can get, and we'll use them. And but I mean, it is y'all are kind of handcuffed with the funding that we're currently getting. So, I mean, I want to applaud y'all for the job that y'all do with the limited funds that y'all do get. So, I want to thank you personally for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lube, did you have a question? Oh. Mr. Harrell? Okay. Ms. Seeley?
Thank you. The question I have is, Ms. Araby, have you had to scale down any of the budgets in comparison to last year? Is it pretty much comparable, or?
The budget, I think we believe we saw it was like about a 5% decrease overall, but we really do not believe it had a major impact on any of the programs, that we were able to keep everything running like we had in the previous budget. It's also important to note that this is the initial budget that we receive, but during the year sometimes there are some tweaking to it, and we have been fortunate over the last couple of years to, on occasion, receive additional funds. So.
Mr. Betancourt?
Thank you, Ms. Belisario. Cheryl, how does these federal dollars work? Do y'all turn in a number and you get a per student amount, or do you just get a block and then you have to fit it to the students that are involved?
Well, actually, the federal fund, especially for the Title I, that is based on your free and reduced students. And then your special ed, of course, has to do with the number of the special ed students that you have. There's a formula that they use, and then you get your bucket of money.
Okay, thank you. A small bucket.
Are there any other questions? And you need a recommendation
Yes, ma'am,
tonight?
I do.
Do I hear a motion? Thank you. Are there any comments from the audience? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So ordered. Ms. Araby, while you're still there, would you like to tell us about the guaranteed curriculum?
Yes, ma'am, I would love to.
Would love to.
I'm sure.
I think we promised a couple of months back that as we became closer and the time was more, that we had gotten into the curriculum with some of the adjustments, and of course with the new standards. How are we going about that as a school system and making sure that we were addressing our curriculum? So we felt like it was important because we do want everyone to understand that we have our guaranteed curriculum. The guaranteed curriculum is not going away. So we're going to show you how we have been transitioning with the new standards that we will be required for our students to know. First of all, it's very, very important to know that we have a framework. There's a framework in place. It might look a little bit different. The colors might be a little bit different than they were 7 years ago when we were very involved getting our online guaranteed curriculum up for the first time. I will tell you the lessons we learned there have been very, very important. I never knew that I would be standing here getting some new standards and getting back to the curriculum at that time when I was very involved with it on the onset and the initiation and implementation of it. But the benefit of this has been is that because we have our template and because we had our standards and our policies and our structure in place, it has been a little bit easier for us as a public school system to take the new standards and put them into our curriculum. As you can see here, it's a unit. You have your unit description. We have standards. We have always had standards that our curriculum has been based on. You might remember hearing our comprehensive curriculum. It was based on the Louisiana benchmarks. Okay, so now we're going to have different standards. We're going to have our enduring understandings. We're going to have essential questions. That is something that we have based our curriculum on, the framework. You're still going to have your vocabulary and, of course, the assessment that we've continued to bring to you. This is where I believe we are doing a much better job, and it is a part of our curriculum. And then you go down and you see all of the lesson plans. So this is indeed our curriculum that we have. So here's an example of what you may have seen as a standard in our first grade guaranteed curriculum. As you can see, it states, identify story elements including speaker or narrator, setting, characters, plot, problems, and solutions. That would have been a standard that we would have had from the Louisiana benchmarks and standards from the past in first grade. This past year, this standard in first grade looks like this. Describe characters, settings, and major events in a story using key details. You can see that for a first grader, if they only had to identify the story elements or list the story elements, going to the new standard is a much more rigor and in-depth that student has to do as they're reading and learning about that story. It's still a standard. We are the ones who go through, write the lessons and the activities. We make the decision of how the students are going to get there. But that is one example of what one of the Common Core standards might look like. So how are we going about this as we're writing our curriculum, writing the activities? We, of course, are doing what we always do and always do best. We have identified some of our great instructional leaders in the classroom, our master teachers, as well as our most awesome curriculum specialists and our CNI supervisors. We are the ones who are responsible for overseeing the curriculum in its development. And I will tell you, we've spent many, many hours and looking at it and reading it. We all have our different assignments, so we're all putting our eyes to it as this curriculum is being developed. It is based on standards, but we're the ones who are in the driver's seat with the activities and the lessons. So let me give you an example of what we've heard a great deal about is the mathematics and how with the new Common Core standards, those standards are much tougher, more rigor, and that is true. So what are we doing in our schools to make sure that our students are going to be well prepared for this? We do know what we found out is with the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade curriculum, that is where we found that the students going from 6th grade to 7th grade and algebra being in 8th grade for not only remember our gifted students, but those students who are performing well in math, that it was going to be important that they had the pre-algebra in 7th grade. So in order for our students who just completed the 6th grade to be ready for 7th grade. What we are doing is we're providing a summer program at no expense to the students. They were identified. We have probably close to 400 students who are participating. It's an online course where at the end of the course, if they test in a particular proficient range, they will be ready for pre-algebra in 7th grade. Now, we know that we're going to be able to tweak our curriculum in the 6th grade for this coming year, but we wanted these students who just finished 6th grade to be ready for next year. Because as you may know, there's not any transition with the new curriculum or the new standards. We are now, all grades will have this through 11th. So the transition ended. You had kindergarten, 1st grade this past year, but now it will be for the rest of the grades. Here is just another example of a writing prompt. You've heard us talk about this often. This is throughout our curriculum. But this is an 8th grade example. In the past, you may have seen write a report on Amelia Earhart. What did you like or dislike about the biography of Amelia Earhart and why? What you will now see in our curriculum will look like this. After reading 3 texts describing Amelia Earhart's bravery, write an essay that analyzes the strength of the arguments about her bravery in at least 2 of the texts. Remember to use textual evidence to support your ideas. Certainly, there is a big difference between the first one and the second one. I will tell you that many of our teachers already have been using this rigor in their classroom, but now it will certainly be provided in our curriculum with some assistance and support so that they will be ready to assist our students. So how are we helping our teachers with this transition and transformation? Just this week, we have held a Literacy Institute, and it was awesome. We had over 300 teachers who attended. They began the conference in the big room. This was held at Fontainebleau High, and actually we were able to do this in support because of our literacy grant. And I have to thank Beth Lane and her group for being able to organize this in such a busy time. The results have been wonderful. This was an opportunity for our curriculum specialists to model what a writing prompt looked like. What would your expectations from the students be? How would that assessment be? And align it with the rubric. It's really given them an opportunity to see it. It's also given them a better opportunity hands-on and to see the different individuals that they will be able to rely on, look to for support and resources this next coming year. Also, our teacher leaders. You heard us talk about our large group that went to Lafayette, but we certainly are doing it the St. Tammany way, and we've now formed a much smaller group. But at the end of the day, when they come back in June 17th, we're going to meet as a district. That's when we will look at the resources. We will put a toolkit together, and then that toolkit or toolkits will be provided to our administrators at the administrators conference, which is why the Blackboard is our biggest element that we believe reaches out and keeps that communication and everything very consistent. The toolkits will then be uploaded to Blackboard. Administrators, instructional leaders, they will make the decisions at their schools on how this will be rolled out, but the curriculum will be consistent. The expectations will be consistent because we have our curriculum online through the guaranteed curriculum with the alignment of the Common Core standards. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah Barrett. Do we have questions on this? Mr. Bettencourt.
Thank you. Mrs. Araby, going back to the math section, would you enlighten us some more about, there was about 400 students selected to do this summer program to get them ready for the pre-algebra in 7th grade.
Correct.
Are there other students already prepared to go into pre-algebra?
Yes.
These are just some not at risk, but students that need that little extra?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct. And we wanted to make sure that it would have been available to as many of our students who were on mark and, good math students, but they would not have been able to go into algebra without the pre-algebra. But it's also important to make sure that they're getting the concepts that they need so that they can perform well. And so that was the need for that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hines?
Ms. Araby, I was curious about the Literacy Institute. What level did y'all target? Any particular level or?
It was all grades.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I have just one question. As I recall, about a year ago, they thought that we would do kindergarten and first 1 year, and then a few grades, and then all of them. What caused the change?
I'm not really certain of that. We went on, our kindergarten and first grade went very well this year. And we were in the process of understanding we were going to have to add second and third grade. That kind of began to change. We were hearing the news around January. And so it went back and forth, but finally when it came out, but we were very well prepared. I think at that point in time, going through it for kindergarten and first grade, it gave us the direction. And I will tell you, our curriculum specialists are fabulous. They have been in the middle of it. They have done research and even learning the content with these standards. They had to do a lot of studying and intensity before you could write curriculum. Writing curriculum is not just something a good instructional teacher can do. We know that. And so I just think at the direction we have with our curriculum team and all of us being in line with what we know, where we need to go as a school system, we're in a really good place.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, we'll move on to the pupil progression plan with Ms. Parker.
Good evening. We are bringing tonight the pupil progression plan, the changes that we will see in the 2013-14 school year. Some of the state policy changes that have happened is the middle school credit. You can remember there was a list of courses that middle school students could take, and there were a lot of things that were tied to it. A lot of that has been taken away, and basically what it's saying is all students that earn high school Carnegie credit, all the criteria is going to be the same. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that in a couple of slides. There are changes in the PE2 credit. PE1, the required PE1 for ninth graders will stay the same. Students will have to do that during the school day. But that other half credit of PE2 is students can take band, cheerleading, dance team, some of the athletics that is after school. They do have to be our athletics, so it can't be the recreation department that the student goes to. That is prohibited by this policy, but it can be our own. So we are working on forms, attendance forms for the coaches, the sponsors to be able to take the attendance and give grades for the students to get that PE2 credit. And then lastly, as you recall, there was a state policy that we had to have connections. And connections was where we put our 8th grade students on a high school campus. We always had 8th graders on a high school campus. We really liked what we had developed because it gave us a lot more flexibility for our students that we could work with them, assign them courses that would really fit their needs. And so Connections was something that we had available, but most students did not opt to take the Connections because of the flexibility. Now that it's no longer in policy for the state, we are asking to delete the connections, we will still have 8th graders on a high school campus working with those students to meet their needs. These are the local policy considerations, and you're going to see each one of them on a slide. So this is just all of the local policies that we're going to kind of discuss tonight. The first one is the senior project adjustment. It was in state policy in Bulletin 741 that all students had to do all portions of the senior project. It's difficult sometimes to make that work for the seniors when they're taking exams and it's getting close to the end of the school year to get all of those pieces and parts in. So the schools, the high schools ask that what we do is we let them make the decision of which parts. All students would still do their research paper, they would all still do the portfolio, but the presentation and the product, it would be up to the schools and how that looks. So instead of doing in front of a committee, the presentation might be done in the classroom, but something that would fit each one of our high schools, and the high school principals that asked that we would do that. The other thing that the high school principals asked was that we eliminate the senior exemption policy. As you recall, the reason that we had the senior exemption policy, well, an exemption policy at all, was for attendance, to help with the attendance. 2 years ago, when the attendance policy changed and all of a sudden a student couldn't miss more than 5 days, it kind of made this policy obsolete. So it's very difficult to enforce this policy. There's always extenuating circumstances. So, thinking that the students need to be college ready, career ready, the high school principals believe that they really need to be able to take those exams, and that should be our expectation as a school system. So they're asking that we delete that policy. One of the great things that has happened is in Bulletin 741, to give proficiency credit, a student had to take a proficiency exam that was approved by the state. They had to pass that exam, and that's the only way that they could get any kind of proficiency credit. We know that there are a lot of students that we have that are homeschooled, that come in from unapproved schools, some private schools locally, and we had to give them that proficiency test. And so if they weren't, and our proficiency tests were pretty much based on our textbooks. So if they used a different textbook, a different vendor, it was kind of more difficult for those students to be able to pass the test, even though they really might know the content. So what we are asking that you do, that you approve tonight, is that this process, the parents have to identify the vendor that provided the instruction to their student, and it can be themselves. Sometimes parents do their homeschooling themselves. And then they provide a portfolio of student work. There's a rubric that we have developed to evaluate proficiency in the class. The rubric will be divided into 3 sections. While the student work samples that they bring in will be a portion. On site, they will do a reading, writing proficiency test that will be scored by the English teacher of that school, and then they will actually take the proficiency test that our curriculum specialists are right now in the process of developing. So it's no longer just on one test alone. You can actually look at the overall picture of that student and how proficient they are. Each section of the rubric will be worth 3 points. A student has to receive 6 of 9 points on the rubric, and they will receive a P on their high school transcript. And remember, a P doesn't help or hurt the student's GPA. It means they're proficient, they've passed the course, they get a check mark, and they can move on. Ms. Araby just talked about the math continuum for the accelerated junior high students. Our 6th grade students will take the 7th grade math course. 7th grade students will take the 8th grade math course, the pre-algebra. It's very important. As you recall in the past, we actually skipped over that 7th grade curriculum pretty much. We compress the 7th and the 8th grade together. Because it's so much content in pre-algebra, a lot of those Algebra 1 standards that we have now this year are moving down to the 8th grade. As you all know, there's no way that students can skip over those Algebra 1 concepts. They might do okay in Algebra 1, but when they get to Algebra 2 in advanced math, it will catch up with them if they have some gaps. So we believe that this is the best way that we can do to get the students ready to still be able to take Algebra 1 in the 8th grade. Then Carnegie unit credit prior to high school. So these are our junior high students. It's going to be the same for our high school students. They can do that proficiency test based on the rubric. Of course, traditional classroom. If they have a secondary certified teacher, that secondary certified teacher can give them Carnegie credit. And then an accredited distance online learning. If a parent would choose to do a distance learning that was not accredited, then they would fall into that first category of the proficiency and looking at the whole picture and using the rubric. There's an additional to the high school. We have students that take the traditional classroom course. They may not pass that course, so we will have credit recovery for those high school students as well. And they will just have to master the parts of the content that they didn't master. So it won't be taking the whole class over. It'll only be the parts that they have not mastered. Foreign visitor age requirement. There's 2 reasons for this. We are asking that foreign visitors have to be 17 years old when they come into our school system. One is that we want the more mature student. They are coming here to have the American experience, and we want them to be mature enough to enjoy that American experience. The other thing is, because of accountability, we want to make sure that we give them as few EOC tests as we have to give them, because those tests are counted in our high school's accountability scores. And lastly, we're excited to announce that next year we want to do a virtual online program. It is the first year the program will be 6 to 12. The following year it will be K-12. The coursework is going to be provided by a vendor. Our teachers will monitor the students' work, or the vendor's teachers will monitor the students' work depending on the coursework. And the program will enroll a maximum of 300 students the first year. And so we are working, moving forward with the virtual online. We have an RFP out trying to get a vendor right now. So we're hoping that all of this is something we can add to pupil progression for the next coming year.
That was a lot of information. I think we'll have a lot of questions. Mr. Dearman?
Ms. Parker, a couple of years ago, you and I had a discussion about qualifying athletes, and math, where we're giving algebra in 8th grade, and that it actually has to be done in the 4 years of high school, so that's 9th through 12th. So that doesn't change where this algebra now qualifies.
No, sir.
That
to get through the clearinghouse you're talking about?
Right.
No, sir. It still is going to be the exact same. They're still going to have that 4 years of math at the high school level. So that means that they would have to have another math. But, nowadays you want to take as much math as you can, because math, how far you get in math really is an indicator of your success in college. So for our athletes, that's important.
Right. I just think we need to kind of, expand upon that with our student athletes when they get in high school. they may think they got 4 years worth of math because that's a high school course that they took in 8th grade, but it
Right.
doesn't count for them.
No, it does
So I
not.
think we need to really make sure everybody's aware of that. Thank you.
That's a good point. Thank you, Mr. Dearman. Mr. Betancourt?
Ms. Boyce, would you tell me when, you said y'all got, trying to get a vendor or whatever, and they're gonna sign, how long is that contract gonna be?
It'll only be for a year, and then at the end of the year, we'll look at our results for our students and our success, and then we'll make a decision and, put it out for an RFP again.
Okay, I think that's a wise decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Betancourt. Ms. Seeley?
Thank you. The question I have is regarding the 8th grade students that are gifted students that are attending the high schools. Are they receiving weighted grades now? And if they aren't, why aren't they? I'm a little bit confused about that.
They are not receiving weighted grades. In fact, for ranking class, your ranking class is 9th through 12th grade only. So, what they take in the 8th grade does not count when it gets to their senior year, because as you know, there's a ceiling. There's 28 credits, 16 of them can be weighted, and the rest are unweighted. So that's to put everybody on a playing field, even students that move in from maybe a block schedule, and they would have more courses. For their GPA, everything they've taken, even the stuff they've taken in the 8th grade, counts in their overall GPA. But their ranking class, number 1, number 2, like that, is only on what they've taken in the high school.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seeley. Mr. Loop?
Hi, Denise, on this, teachers will monitor the virtual online program. Want to explain a little bit, what does that mean for every individual teacher who may have a student? Just tell them.
Well, what we'll do is we will have some teachers that have a class, kind of like we do with our virtual academy right now. They will have students that are assigned to them. They will still be teaching their students in the classroom,
Okay.
but they will have some other students outside of the school day. And they will go on and grade their assignments and, report the grades back and forth and be in touch with the students and see how they're progressing. That is one model that we will be using. I mean, we use it now. The other model that we are looking into is that some of the vendors actually have teachers that can grade the work, and that's what they do. And so we've asked on the RFP for both ways to look at it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Loop. Are there any other questions? I have one for you, Denise. Back on the first page, you mentioned that the connections is no longer required at the state level. I believe we had transitional 8th before that. What are we going to call it now?
We call it 8th graders on a high school campus.
Okay. All right, thanks. Do you need a recommendation on this? Okay, do I hear a motion? Mr. Womack, second. Mr. Loop? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So ordered. Thank you. Let's see. I think we have come to announcements from the
We're
president.
going to save that until.
Oh, we're going to save that until the other meeting, okay. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So ordered.
Okay, everybody, let's get started. Ms. Campbell, roll call, please.
Mr. Derman,
Here.
Mr. Hannigan, Mrs. Heinz, Mr. Loop, Mr. Harrell, Mrs. Tipton,
They're both here.
Mr. Jeter, Mrs. Seeley, Mrs. Mullet, Mr. Betancourt, Mr. Womack, Mr. Panks, Mr. Lamarck, Mr. Alfred, Mrs. Bellisario.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. We're going to dispense with the invocation and the pledge because we did that in the previous meeting. There was no one requesting time on the agenda, so we're going to move straight to approval of the minutes for the committee as a whole meeting held May 2nd, 2013. Do I hear a motion? Moved by Ms. Sealy, seconded by Mr. Jeter. Any discussion or questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Abstain? So ordered. Okay. Next on the agenda is discussion of the 2013-14 budget considerations and recommendations by Superintendent Foles.
Thank you, Mr. Durman. Tonight, board members, I wanted to give you a brief update on the budget process and where we stand as far as the budget for the 2013-2014 school year. Of course, everything became a little more complicated in a good way late this afternoon with the passage of House Bill number 1. House Bill number 1 includes the 2.75 growth factor. We're very happy about that. Yes, it passed unanimously through the House today, and I think one senator voted against it, so it happened about an hour before the close of the session. And part of that 275 requirement is that 50% of that must be used for teachers' salaries. Remember, board members, that our full budget discussions will start in August. We include a committee as a whole meeting, a public hearing, and then a full board meeting. But for tonight, we need approval of the salary schedules that were adopted last December that were based upon the new state-mandated requirements, which were copies been provided to you, and these current schedules do not include any pay increases for our employees. Keeping in mind that the new fiscal year starts July 1st, and we need to adopt these schedules before then. We also would like to reserve the right to come back to you as a board as part of our budget consideration, our budget talks, once we find out more details about House Bill number 1 and what impact that it could have on our salary schedule. We have to get something in place tonight for July 1st, but we certainly will be coming back to you as part of the budget considerations, other things we work on, as well as House Bill number 1. The only changes that you will see to the salary schedule, page 7, we removed boys softball. We no longer have that. We now have boys baseball on the junior high level. We removed on page 11, removed the Business Affairs Secretary part of the presentation that Ms. Araby gave you early with our restructuring of the Business Affairs. Also part of the Business Affairs restructuring was on page 24. We added the school accountant job description and removed the internal auditor position. All those have been reviewed by Terry Fortenberry, Cheryl Araby, as well as our auditors, and we believe those are in line with what's best for our Business Affairs Department. So tonight we would ask approval for the continuation of the policy passed. We also tonight need to ask for your approval for the continuation of the policy passed last year that denies the offering of sabbaticals for professional development. You know, last year we thought with our budget crisis, our budget situation that we're in, that it was important at that time not to offer sabbaticals for professional development. We believe at this time that that is still the way to go with things that we have, the uncertainty of the budget moving forward. So we'd ask to continue that moving forward into the next year. So really tonight, two things we need: approval of the salary schedule so that we can start those correctly on July 1st with the idea that we can come back to you as part of the budget process, and then the approval of the continuation of denial of the professional development sabbaticals.
Okay, moved by Mr. Bettencourt on salary schedule and seconded by Mr. Jeter. Any questions or comments from the board? Yes. Okay, Mr. Bettencourt.
So, Mr. Foles, just to reiterate and to understand what you were talking about, once we get some finality out of the legislature, the budget, that could possibly be a salary increase, or it could possibly be just a one-year supplement. We don't know yet, right?
Correct. We were at a Region 2 meeting this morning. That came up as a topic for understanding. I also looked some as soon as I got back and watched the rest of the House in session. My understanding that for next year it is a one-time supplement, but there was also some discussion and supposed commitment from the governor's office that it would be included after 1 year as part of the base and create a new MFP. Now, until we get that, we need to be careful that we don't commit ourselves to something that's not going to be funded from the state. So I think our recommendation, unless we hear different, the first year would be a supplement, a one-time supplement, and that's what we're being told the way it'll come from the state. And then moving forward, if it gets included in the MFP, and we're certainly hoping it does, then we would look at it at a permanent structure. But, this is less than 4 or 5 hours old, so I'm sure we'll hear more in the upcoming days.
Yeah, I've read both ways on it, so I think that's prudent to handle it the way you I have confidence in you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, let's vote on the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Seeing none, abstentions, none. So ordered. All right, now I need a motion for the professional sabbaticals. So moved by Mr. Womack, second by Ms. Tipton. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say yes or aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So ordered. Okay. Next on the we have Mr. Foltz, who's taking place of Mr. Jabby, who's taking the place of
Mr. Brady.
Mr. Brady.
I'm the third stringer tonight.
Mr. Foltz.
Thank you, Mr. Dermott. As we had mentioned earlier, Mr. Jabby is dealing with a family illness and certainly could not be here tonight, and we certainly understand that. For our monthly maintenance and custodial report, Mr. Richmond and his crew are here to answer any questions that you may have about that report.
Seeing none, I guess we'll move on to the risk management.
Mr. Gaspard is here with the risk management report. I think he's provided that to you as well, and he is available to answer any questions you might have about that.
Seeing none, we're moving on to transportation.
Kathy Amy is here. Miss Amy is here, and I know they're doing some things on summer. It never ends in transportation, so she's here. Her report is in your packet as well.
Any questions from the board members? Seeing none, we're going to move on to monthly construction report. Ms. Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Derman. We thought we'd give you a brief construction report each month and then answer any questions anyone might have.
Thank you.
We are off to a quick start this summer. We had people working at Wood Lake and Pitcher the Friday after school let out. We had roofing materials being delivered within a couple of days of the end of school letting out, so we got off to a quick start. We have included for you at the end of your monthly report this summer a condensed report of smaller projects that we're going to oversee during this summer. And that's in addition to our larger ongoing construction projects. Most of those summer projects are small roofing projects. There's a drainage project, some entry door replacements, some masonry waterproofing, and some ceiling replacements. All of our roofing projects are underway and planned. We need the weather to be cooperative this week with all the showers kind of caught us a little bit, but we're very hopeful to get those either done or almost complete before administrations start returning towards the end of July. We've also got paving ongoing at North Shore. They're out there working in the student parking lot right now. We've got a gym floor going in at Slidell High, and they've been doing prep work since school let out, but we do expect to start working on the floor itself next week. On our ongoing construction projects, the Brock Elementary classroom wing addition is progressing. The roof is over all the classroom areas. They've got block fill and primer on the walls, so it's starting to shape up inside, but we do anticipate that that will be beyond when school opens, when they finish. But it's looking very good. It's very exciting to see how it's taking shape. Over at Madisonville Junior, we're on the last phases of that project, and we do expect it to finish this summer. They are returning the temporary kitchen area back to its original use as a dishwash room, and they're working on some paving areas outside that should finish up soon. At Woodlake, we've moved into the gymnasium. That phase is a summer project, so there's a lot to accomplish, but Sammy is working with them almost daily to oversee that work and get it online and make sure that it gets done. They also continue with renovations in Wing 5, but that portion of the work does continue into next school year. At Fifth Ward, we are renovating the pre-K building. Our abatement is completing this week, and the general contractor will be given access inside next week. And the roofing project there is underway, has been underway since the Memorial Day. Pictures on schedule. We were in the dishwasher room the day after the staff left, so that's progressing well. We very much appreciate, we could not have gotten off to such a quick start without the help of maintenance and IT and the schools cooperating and coordinating with us, and we really appreciate that. It makes all the difference. And I'll answer any questions that anyone might have.
Do y'all see how much more work we've got done since Bill Brady left?
Yeah, it's amazing,
We've
isn't
been
it?
putting out some work.
We're just picking on Bill. Any questions from the board members? Seeing none. Ms. Tipton, thank you very much for the update on all the construction. Okay, going to, next on the agenda is Business Affairs. Ms. Fortenberry, to consider and take action with respect to adopting a resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance of general obligation school refunding bonds of St. Tammany Parish-wide School District Number 12 of the Parish of St. Tammany, State of Louisiana, making application to the State Bond Commission for approval of said bonds and providing for the matters in connection therewith. Ms. Fortenberry.
This resolution is in your packets. Grant Sluter of Foley and Udell could not attend tonight, but will be attending the board meeting next week to answer any questions you may have. But he did give me some information. This potential refunding involves the refinancing of all or a portion of the callable maturities of Series 2006 general obligation bonds. The projected savings for taxpayers is over $400,000 after expenses. This is just the preliminary approval and permit us to apply to the State Bond Commission. Thereafter, if the market is favorable, we will complete the refunding. If not, we will hold up until the market conditions improve. If you have any questions, I will try to answer them for you.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, I got a motion on the floor by Ms. Seeley. Do I have a second? Mr. Loop seconded. I don't see any other further discussion from the board members. We're all about saving money. Any discussion from the public? Seeing none. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. All abstentions? Seeing that, so ordered. Okay, moving on to the purchasing report. Again, Ms. Fortenberry.
Ms. Stevens is here to answer any questions you may have about the purchasing report.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, we're going to go on to the next item on the agenda, health insurance report, which is for Mr. Jabbia, who is not here. So I guess we're going to go to Mr. Fontaine.
I'll take it first.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Foles.
Thank you, Mr. Durbin. You know, board members, as we go about dealing with our budget issues and all the different groups that we've spoken to, we have always identified what we had called the big three, and that was our retirement cost, our MFP cost, and our health insurance cost. Well, hopefully, with the action today that we received from the legislature, we certainly will get some relief with our MFP, with the growth money. Retirement is an issue that we continue to work on with legislators and others, and I think is a long-term project that certainly all schools, I was at a Region 2 meeting today, every superintendent is dealing with retirement issues and the cost and the increase over the last 5 years, how significant it's been. And of course, the third of the big three is health insurance. You know, we're in the middle of a 3-year plan on making some adjustments that we already starting to see some positive feedback from, but we also thought it was important to continue our goal of making sure that our health insurance is self-sustaining for all of our employees. With that in mind, we reconvened the Health Insurance Committee. I know Ms. Heinz was at the meeting, Mr. Loop was there, Mr. Derman was there, Mr. Lamarck, right, or the members that were there. And Lynn is here tonight to share with you the findings and recommendations from those committee, which were all unanimous recommendations. And then we're going to ask Mr. Loop to make a motion if he so desires after Lynn's presentation.
If you turn to the first page, the The health plan analysis brings you back all the way since the inception of this self-funded plan when we left the Office of Group Benefits. And we're looking at 2012. Basically, if you look at the bottom number here, this monthly plan cost per employee, our cost has increased only 1.4% during the year of 2012 as opposed to 2011. Costs really peaked back in 2009, and over the course of the last several years, we've been able to implement some cost-saving measures that have held costs to flat. And this has been in a period of time where we've had healthcare inflation running anywhere from 7 to 10%. So, you know, when we really were looking back in 2009 where we talked and we had that $10 million deficit, we've moved forward and been able to shrink that deficit. We've at the same time been able to have some mild adjustments in employee contribution. But when you look at your plan benefits and you look at your contribution, you're offering your employees and retirees an extremely rich benefit plan, and contributions, you're paying the vast majority of the costs of the plan, so those contributions are extremely generous as well. So when we look at where we are in 2012, net claims for the entire plan, $65,757,934. And when you take into the other components of cost, the fixed cost, the cost we pay to Humana for that retiree coverage, the entire plan cost, administration, claims, and the retiree piece, basically $71,618,000. So quite a big expense under the plan, but we have been running and actually holding the cost down to flat over a period of time when costs are increasing tremendously in healthcare. On the next page, I'll take you through some considerations here. When we first left the Office of Group Benefits, one of the major situations that increased the cost of the plan was that your plan was so rich, you charged so little for it, you had a big increase in participation in the plan. And that's actually stabilized over the last couple of years. Participation only increased 1.2%. As that participation is held stable, one thing that has increased is there's been some attrition. The Humana piece, the retiree piece, the plan participation there increased 14.2% last year. Since inception in 2009 is when we went to the Humana retiree coverage. That's grown some 37%. So that tells you that your retiree population has increased tremendously. Your medical claims year over year are actually down some 4%. The big increased cost area was prescription drugs at 27.3%. This is not due to the fact that we're utilizing more in the area of prescriptions on a per prescription basis, but we've had a huge increase in high-cost specialty medications. And that was the major factor there. If you remember, we implemented several different cost-saving measures in January that were projected to save us some $700,000 to $800,000 in the area of prescription drugs. So we're looking at that figure to stabilize as well. Your total claims cost per employee per month increased only 2.3%. Your inpatient hospital claims were actually down about 20%, 19.9%. And of course, St. Tammany Hospital, Ochsner, Slidell, Lakeview Regional, and the Ochsner Medical Center North Shore remain your top providers. Outpatient hospital utilization up 23%. So the cost-saving measures we've implemented over the last couple of years have basically stabilized your costs since 2009, and everything is costs have remained flat. And that is quite a big statement, because costs have just escalated tremendously. Most people have seen their costs grow some 30–40% over that period of time. So these cost-saving measures have held the increases. Those were additional provider discounts by increasing our network and actually getting better discounts from some of the providers within the network. We did a dependent audit. We have contracted with our prescription drug vendor 2 times during this period. Programs and plan design changes there. The cost-saving measures that we implemented on January 1, once again in the prescription drug area, provide savings of some $700,000 to $800,000. The things that we're going to get to now are going forward. And we had talked about in the committee a few years ago, or even last year, implementing a dependent surcharge. When we've discussed in the past the high content that you have in the area of dependence in your plan, it's uncommonly high. It grew tremendously when you left the Office of Group Benefits, and basically you have become the plan of choice for St. Tammany Parish. Because your plan is so rich, because you pay for the vast majority of it and charge your employees so little, you actually alleviate other employers in the parish of providing benefit to that employee. This is nothing more than a surcharge that would be applied to the dependent premium if that dependent spouse is eligible for coverage at his or her employer. Now remember, we are in the day and age of health care reform. Other employers all over the United States are going to be mandated to provide coverage on an essential basis. The benefits have to meet the criteria of a minimum essential benefit, and that coverage has to be affordable. So you're going to see some migration of your dependent population to the coverages where those dependent spouses work. We do expect most folks to take coverage where he or she might work. So that will be one area that will mitigate some of the cost here. But this was an option that we've looked at and talked about several times that the committee looked at, and on a very, very conservative basis, potential savings here of about $1,250,000. We've talked about in the past, we've made benefit changes, although very, very slight ones. We've made some contribution changes, although very, very slight. And those are your usual and obvious tools. If we're going to cut costs, we can go up on what you charge the employee, or we can go down on the benefit schedule. But the real way to curb the cost of the plan, if you're talking about a plan that's costing you $70 million a year, we have to get the population of your participants healthier. Statistics will year after year show us that 85% of the claims of this $71 million plan come from 15% of your participants. So 15% of the participation is driving the bulk of the cost. So the more we can do to minimize high-cost claimants in the future, the better off we're going to be. And the main emphasis behind this, if you have looked at anything with this health care reform, is we certainly want to make certain that we are not in an area where we would be subject to the Cadillac tax of the health care reform come 2018. That is a tax that says if your health plan is deemed too expensive, that there's a 40% excise charge on the amount over and above those thresholds. So this is what we're really striving to preclude there. So the path to savings on this next page talks about basically 3 or 4 different areas. We talked about developing a multi-year strategy for wellness. That wellness plan would include biometric screenings, health risk assessments, premium incentives, on-site clinics, and coaching. And what this does is it takes a wellness plan that goes all the way from engaging folks and giving us the screening information and health risk assessment information to know what we need to focus on, all the way to coaching, whereby if somebody does become diagnosed with a certain illness or disease state, that there's somebody there to coach them to make certain that, for example, that diabetic is compliant. Difference in cost between a compliant diabetic, uncompliant, could be several $100,000. So that's what the whole multi-year strategy is about. We're giving you an example here for biometric screenings. When we talk about incentives, we want to put some money on the table to incent those employees to participate. Without this, you won't have the participation to truly get a good cross-section of your people identified. We want to identify those folks who have not been to the doctor in 5, 7, 8 years, who do not have a primary care physician, and we want to get these people tested and make certain that they're in good health, and if something isn't normal, that we take care of it and get it under a maintenance situation. And what we're trying to preclude is that the first time somebody accesses health care, it's not through the doors of the emergency room and onto an operating table. That's the way we eliminate that high-cost claimant there. So for anyone who fails to complete that biometric screening or health risk assessment, there would be an additional charge, and this is an example of $50 for single coverage, all the way to $125 for family coverage. Assuming that only 15% of your population would fail to meet those biometric screenings during a year's time, then we're talking about a savings to the plan from a contribution standpoint of about $700,000.
Lynn, if I could just stop you real quick, that amount, is that monthly or annually?
That 50, 100, 75, and 125, that's a monthly amount.
Okay, I wanted you to verify that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if I'm your employee and you're going to provide me free access to a biometric screening and ask me to take 10 minutes of my time to fill out a health risk assessment, and I do not do it, okay, and this would occur during the fall, that come January 1st of 2014, my premium would increase by these numbers. Okay? The second one was that spousal surcharge we spoke of earlier. It's an additional $100 monthly premium that would be charged to spousal coverage if the spouse is eligible for group insurance at his or her employer, waives that coverage to become covered under your plan. And with the assumption that only 40% of the spouses are eligible for group insurance, which we all believe is a very, very conservative assumption, that savings would produce about $1,275,000 on your contribution. Then also included in A, which we'll get to in the recommendations from the committee, we are going out for a request for proposal once again on the on-site clinic. That's going to be presented to you. The committee did move forward to want to implement that on-site clinic approach, because with that is what's really going to be the driver of this 3-year or multi-year wellness program. The difference in the coaching, the end result is you want to identify the at-risk population in your group, but the end result is you want those folks to be compliant and be coached. Most wellness plans, they send a letter or they get a phone call in the coaching process. But when When the computer screen pops up and that nurse sees that that diabetic has not had their blood sugar measured in quite some time or on the proper periodic basis, and they call you and say, you got to be in the clinic at 8:30 tomorrow morning for an appointment, that's when the real impact of a wellness plan does take place. It's certainly far more powerful than a letter or a phone call. The on-site clinics, from what I'm seeing over a 2 to 3 year period, have the potential to save this system anywhere from $15 to $20 million. Very high potential savings here into running that wellness plan. And then finally, we wanted to put forth some employee premium adjustments in the event that these measures, we would have a spike in our health plan cost and still be in a deficit position, that we would be able to put forth premiums that would put the plan in a break-even position. Right now, our deficit position is not huge from a percentage standpoint, but we're running at about a $6 million a year deficit. That's shrinking over the years because we've gotten a small increase in contribution from the employees, and we keep implementing these cost-saving measures. So it is shrinking, but in the event that we're still sitting here at 2015 with a $6 million deficit, this first assumption here shows your current premiums, and assumption 1 is where those premiums would need to be increased for your plan to be in a break-even position. So assuming January 1st of 2015 that we're still in a $6 million deficit position, the single premium would go, for example, from $60 to $93, all the way to the family premium going from $325 to $504. The second assumption takes into account that the cost-saving measures that we're putting before you right now would have a $2 million deficit reducing effect on the plan, and that would bring those premium increases down from the 93 to 82 for single coverage, all the way to family at 446. Hopefully, the cost-saving measures we would introduce, along with the on-site clinic, would eliminate the deficit entirely. But in the event that we are still running in a deficit position, we wanted to be able to put forth an option for you to look at that would require a premium adjustment to balance the plan come 2015. Behind that are just examples of a timeline that we would use when we talk about biometric screenings. Obviously, that would occur in the fall. These premium adjustments for those that would not participate would take place in 2014. We would be coming back to you after meeting with the committee for the finalization and your approval, of course, for the on-site clinics after finalist meetings and a decision from the insurance committee.
Okay. Lynn, thank you. Just for the board's information, whenever we first started being self-funded, I think we had roughly 5,500 employees or something about that time, if I'm correct. And what was the total lives that we had on our plan? About 7,000, 7,700?
Right at about right under 10, and now you're probably in the area of 16, 17,000 members.
Lives. But yet we've only increased our employees by just a few hundred.
Right.
I guess what I'm trying to, set the groundwork for the board is to understand how many dependents we've increased on our plan, even though our revenue really didn't increase. So we've more than doubled almost doubled our lives, and we've only gone up, about maybe 800 to 1,000, employees. So over that course of 5 or 6 years. So you can understand the difference of what that dollar revenue of not collecting premium is actually doing to the plan. So, okay, I'm going to get a motion on, unless you just got a general question, Ron. Okay, well, I think what we need to do is take each one of these individually so that we can get a motion on the floor and discuss them one at a time and then vote on them one at a time as well. Mr. Luke?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dermott. I'll go ahead with, first recommendation from the committee is to recommend implementation of a multi-year wellness strategy to include biometric screenings, health risk assessments, premium incentives, and member coaching. Premium incentives will be effective January 2014 and will apply to all participating employees subject to the affordability provisions of the Affordable Care Act. That's the first one.
Okay, that's motion by Jack, seconded by Mr. Betancourt. Okay, any questions from board members? Okay, Mr. Betancourt.
Thank you. On this wellness, I guess penalty, if you will, if a employee does that or doesn't, follow the rules, 1 year, the following January, those increased premiums come into play. What if they then, the following year, go ahead and do what they're supposed to do? Is there an avenue for that to be taken off of their premium?
Correct.
Or stays forever?
No, it's an annual situation where they will be able to earn their credits each and every year, or have opportunity to earn those credits. So in the example that you're using, if they rectify the situation and do participate with the biometric screenings and health risk assessment in the second year, then that increased premium would go away.
Okay, second part of that, they don't do what they're supposed to do, and starting January, they have this increased premium, depending on where they fit, whether it's just the employee or their whole family. Can they, let's say in March, go do what they're supposed to do and then get in touch with somebody, or do they have to pay that new premium the whole year until a prescribed time?
They would pay that premium the whole year until the entire plan year of 2013. But they'll be given ample opportunity to have it done before the January premiums kick in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Belisario.
I'm sorry, this is very confusing to me. Could you define a biometric screening?
Just normal finger stick type cholesterol testing, high blood pressure, that type of thing.
What if a person has this done routinely, annually, in their doctor's office? Does that suffice?
Yes, it could.
How would they document that?
There will, the wellness services that we'll use will be able to document that evidence. There's no sense in getting it done twice.
Then please define a health risk assessment.
That is an online or paper questionnaire that's going to ask them information about their health and lifestyle.
Who is they? Who's going to ask this?
This will be a wellness vendor that we will procure, which will get that information. It'll all be confidential, and that information is integrated with the claims from Blue Cross. So when you take that information, you integrate it with claims information, that's what produces the data for that coaching to be outbound and make certain that if you're identified with high blood pressure, diabetes, whatever it might be, that now we've got this person identified and they can be coached.
And let's see what happens to the employee who routinely fills out a health assessment every time they go to the doctor. Does that suffice? Why does it have to be done through a wellness vendor?
Because you want to accumulate that info. Well, there's a lot of people who don't do that. There's a lot of folks who are not going to get a physical. This is not to capture information on people who are currently doing the right thing. It's to capture that information on the folks that aren't.
I understand that's the point of it, but what do we do for everyone who's already doing it?
We integrate that information to Blue Cross through the wellness vendor, but they don't have to go through the process again.
So information from a person's doctor has to go to a wellness vendor, whom we don't know who that will be yet, to go to Blue Cross. Okay.
All of that is done on a confidential basis.
I don't have a whole lot of trust in confidential basis. Premium incentives, I understand. On-site clinics, I'm not sure that that really would produce that much in savings. Now, coaching, who would be the coach? Could it be your spouse reminding you to take your medicine?
No, the coach would be a nurse at an on-site clinic or a disease management nurse from Blue Cross or whomever we choose to do that coaching.
So basically, you're going to be directing all health information of our employees to some wellness vendor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I will not be in favor of this.
Seeley?
Thank you, Mr. Derman. I have great concerns with this in the sense that most of the time, being in healthcare myself as a nurse, when you offer incentive programs, it's not going to cost the employees or the clients anymore. The other thing is the cost to the vendors and the infringement of confidentiality. There are many concerns with this regarding the biometric screenings. It should be something that would be an incentive by choice of an employee or a client, not necessarily that is required, because what this is going to do is going to cause concerns with the people that have signed up with our insurance. And I do believe they would be looking elsewhere because they're going to be required to do this extra testing. And there are many people that don't use physicians, and there are many people that come in with pre-existing illnesses or handicaps that that may not pass the testing. So there's a great concern here, and I don't believe we're ready to that I know that I'm against this for those reasons. I believe that we need to look into this as far as amending it. If we're going to offer something, we need to not make it a cost to the employee or the client. Because of the price that you're paying for a vendor against the price of an emergency room visit after this person has not seen a physician because they choose not to see a physician, I don't believe we're going to be saving a whole lot either. Thank you.
Mr. Foles?
Board members, let me just remind all of y'all, these are just recommendations. You can do what you want with them. Everybody on this board knows the amount of money we're losing in health insurance. Everybody on this board knows that every time we look to try to do teacher raises or step increase or want the parish-wide assistant principals or want all these different things that we do, it costs money. These are just recommendations. You can vote them up, you can vote them down. You can modify them, we can put them in now, we can put them in a year from now, we can put them in whatever. So this is just information. Remind you that 4 people, fellow board members, were on the committee that heard this information as well. So this is just information. Nobody's saying that we have to do this. That's why we brought it to the table tonight for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Foles. Any other board members have any other questions? Mr. Womack.
I don't have a question. And what I want to say is that I've already been contacted by one of these people you're making reference to. And the lady identified herself as a nurse, and she was extremely polite, and she made it very clear from the outset that this thing was purely voluntary. I mean, it's not forced on me, you know, and the effort was to try to assist in improving health situations and answering any questions. And she ended the phone call with, do you mind if I just send you a packet, you know, and explaining the things that we offer. So just my personal experience with it so far is not something that's negative. That's just my take on it, and God knows that I've got reason to be as concerned as anybody else with the things that I've gone through with my own wife in the past few years. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think all it can do is help.
Thank you, Mr. Womack. Lynn, do you have anything else to add?
Just the emphasis behind the incentives are the industry statistics show that if you don't have some financial incentive, that you don't get enough participation for your wellness plan to have a meaningful impact. And that's just not, that's not an opinion of mine, that's just industry statistics. If we go out there and we do this, and we only have 30–40% of your people participate, we're more than likely going to get 30–40% participation from your healthiest population, and we wouldn't accomplish that identifying of that at-risk population. That was the emphasis behind the premium incentive. And that premium incentive is part of what the healthcare reform is giving us opportunity to take advantage of now. Most larger employers are putting in a multi-year wellness strategy that starts with incentivizing the employees to be engaged in the wellness plan, all the way from the inception of biometric screening to coaching. Now remember, the whole time along the way, it is a voluntary situation.
And I think, rightfully so, I think one of Ms. Mary Kay's concerns is just the whole sharing of data that we've been dealing with across the state and information like that. So I think that's something that would be important to make sure that we're clear on. I mean, the other options we have are to do parts of it, to do the clinics. And I mean, these are options. And every time you reduce an option, of course, the savings, potential savings decreases. So I think we need to weigh savings versus, you know, the concerns that people would have.
And also, the committee was scheduled to have a presentation done as far as the clinics and these providers on the night that we had the food service banquet, which conflict, so we canceled it. So we haven't had that presentation of it. We had one several years ago with the on-site clinic providers, but we haven't had it to date. But the other option, like Mr. Foles says, well, the simple thing to do is just raise everybody's premium by $300 a month. And I guarantee you our employees would absolutely freak out if we started charging them $300 a month extra just to cover our deficit. So, I mean, you have to weigh your options of what we're here. And like we're saying, we have to balance this plan out. And because we have so many people that have come onto the plan over the course of the last several years that aren't really contributing to the premium, but they are contributing to the claims, which is the cost. When you look at our plan, it went from 47 million to now 71, 72 million. Well, our revenue into that plan has strictly been mostly from the board. So we have to offset those increases of claims, and we have to figure out a way to justifiably associate the cost of premium to the ones that are creating the claims. And whether that's through health diagnostics or if it's through, waivers as far as spousal participations or whatever it may be, just like we identified the actual dependents on the plan here a while back. So, I mean, and that was almost a $500,000 savings to the plan. So all of these things dovetail together in order to be truly productive in a cost reduction measure. Now, like Mr. Foles said, as a board, we have the opportunity to pick and choose whatever we want. But understand, with every vote and whatever you choose, there's other consequences that come with that. So just because we choose to do nothing means that something else isn't going to happen. I'm sorry to take my little time on the box, but Ms. Tipton, I think you had your hand up first.
Thank you. My husband works for a large company in the area, and as you've stated, they participate in a wellness program, and I did that this past fall, and I found it very helpful. also too, your coaching, I thought that was effective. I think it's a big plus in the right direction. We need to start somewhere and help, and I can understand your concern about maybe the information getting lost in the shuffle, but hopefully we can address that in a way that would make others feel more comfortable. But I think personally, I feel it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jeter.
It's not about right or wrong or anything like that, but it has been my experience prior to retirement and after retirement that the committees that have gone out and done the research, you guys have done this in the past, and it's always been positive. Now, if it continues to be positive, I think that's a good way to look at it and say, hey, it's been positive in the past. What you guys have done as a committee and the recommendations that have been made have been positive. Positive, positive, positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jeter. Ms. Hines.
I'd just like to state that I did attend most of that insurance committee meeting. It was a very large group of our employees. Each segment of our employees was represented, and I thought that was very helpful, and everyone listened and tried to make decisions. It's obvious we've got to do something. I want to emphasize that before we vote that we're taking these each one step at a time, so that we're just voting on the biometric screenings.
The wellness program.
And the wellness program at this time. So I wanted to make that clarification.
And that this is strictly in committee so that we can proceed with, to do more data gathering and all that. And it's still got to be voted on by the board. And so.
At the formal board.
Yes, ma'am.
But this one is for the wellness program.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Hines. Anybody else? Any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right, we have 2 nays. Anyone abstain? So ordered. Okay, Mr. Lute.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Durham. Implement on-site clinics in 2014, subject to selection process, evaluation, and approval from the committee and board.
That's part of the first one, right?
Yeah.
It's written as a separate one on this paper.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a motion. I have a question, Ms. Hines. No, do I have a motion? No, I haven't gotten a motion yet.
I'll pass it as a motion.
Okay, that's a motion. Now I need a second. Second by Mr. Womack. Okay, question, Ms. Hines.
Well, the way it was stated, it says that approval from the committee board. Are we given the approval tonight to set those up, or are we going to review this again?
We are going, I'm sorry, Lynn, go ahead.
All you're doing tonight is asking the committee to review proposals and report to you on the findings. Okay, we're moving forward with request for proposal, boil it down to a finalist and report to you, because you'll have the ultimate say-so whether you go forward with a clinic or not.
This is just permission to receive that information and bring it to you for your review and up and down after that.
I wanted to make sure of that,
Yes.
because I am not convinced on this on-site clinics idea yet that it's going to be a cost saving to us, and I would have to see a proposal from that.
Which we
before I-
have not yet received yet.
Right.
So, but that would come back to the committee and then to the board.
I just want clarification. If this is for hear proposals, then I can
To
support
gather
the
proposals.
hearing of it.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Mary Kay.
I'm still a little bit confused. I thought we just voted on everything under wellness program, but now we're voting on clinics?
We were voting on the concept. Now we're going to vote on the fact that we're going to secure proposals from these clinic providers to the insurance committee to review and to select. Once we make a selection from the insurance committee, that report will then be presented back to this committee, and then where we will vote on it. And then if it passes or whatever, then it goes to the full board meeting.
Yeah, I understand that. If we're giving permission for the committee to hear input, and then they're going to send us a report, are we then committed to having the clinic?
No.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, this is just simply fact gathering.
And you have 4 board members on that committee. Also, the board members who certainly could attend that, and then we would bring the review to here, committee meeting. Well, this is just to move forward to receive.
Ms. Seeley?
Thank you. I realized we courted this idea, what was it, about a year or so ago, about the freestanding, was it a freestanding clinic that we were looking at? This is for clarification purposes. With this, are we going to provide a time limit as far as getting information so that we can
Yes.
look at it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, any comments from the, Mr. Harrell?
As part of this evaluation program, have we considered looking at maybe doing this in-house rather than a vendor?
The reason you want to use a vendor is for their software and their ability to share and collect that information with the carriers in the medical community.
And also for privacy purposes as well.
Privacy purposes, liability, and they actually hire the nurse practitioners, run that clinic.
Okay, any other questions from board members? Any from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. All abstained, 1 abstention. So ordered. Mr. Loop.
Thank you, Mr. Durham. Recommend implementation of a $100 per month spousal surcharge effective January 1st, 2014. Surcharge applies to the employee's health plan contribution if spousal coverage is elected when the spouse is eligible for group health at his or her employer.
Seconded, moved by Mr. Loop, seconded by Mr. Harrell. Questions from the board? Mr. Betancourt.
I guess this would go to Lynn. Regarding this here, this surcharge, and I see on the back here, there's that form that could possibly be used about the mandatory certification of spouse coverage.
Right, that would be the application.
Is there, some companies, some larger corporations, what have you, may offer different or less expensive coverage for the dependents too? Is there a way of including that and trying to find out that information too, and possibly doing a surcharge along those same lines? Do you get where I'm coming from?
That if you're electing participation when your spouse has got available coverage there, that they would get a lesser coverage here? Is that what you're?
No, let me try it. Let me use the school board and Company A. Company A doesn't charge anything for the children, where the school board charges a little bit or whatever. Is there a way of looking and trying to gather that information and making the same thing, a surcharge, if the dependents come on our plan, when it would be less expensive for us to have them on a plan that they could be covered easier or cheaper?
You can't really do anything with the steerage, or you're talking about dependent children, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't do anything with the steerage there unless you change the eligibility of your plan to the health care reform mandates that you only offer coverage to both employee and dependent children. They mandate that you only have to contribute premium for the employee, not the dependent children, but you could not exclude children from the eligibility of your plan. It's the employee's choice which plan to put them on, whether it's the husbands or the wives, because both of them are going to be mandated to have eligibility for children. There, in most cases, are going to choose yours because you have the richer benefit and the lower premium. Over this course of time, since 2007, the reason why you've had so much growth is that as other employers have increased premiums and increased deductibles and all of these things, your plan of benefits has still stayed very steady and your premiums have stayed low.
Okay.
And you were ahead of them already to begin with.
Ms. Seeley? Oh, I'm sorry, Ron, are you through?
Well, other than maybe at some point in time, the committee may have to look at, you know, the figures for picking up the dependent children and possibly, you know, recapture a few dollars that way.
Thank
It
you.
might be unpopular, but like you said, we've got to, you know, rein these costs in.
Okay,
Thank you.
Ms. Seeley?
Thank you. Regarding the surcharge, there are companies out there that do charge incoming new clients a surcharge or a sign-up fee. And maybe this is something that we could look at for anybody that's new that's coming in. Not necessarily just the spouses, but maybe a package type of surcharge for a family. And I would say maybe look into amending it that way, and maybe that would be some more dollar amounts that could come this way.
A different contribution structure for new employees as of a certain date?
The others would be grandfathered in. It wouldn't be that you'd go back and charge people that are already in
We had
there.
discussed that. There were just no savings in that at all. I mean, we're not hiring many new employees at all right now, so that really would not be of any benefit. And I really don't think it's fair that, you know, that only the new people, I think the numbers, like Mr. Derman just mentioned to you, the numbers speak for themselves. And because of the plan and how rich it is, we have people that are turning it down at their place of employment. If they choose to do that, that's fine, but if they choose to do that, then they're going to need to pay a surcharge.
Well, this would be my second question to that. If there aren't that many people signing up, then which spouses are we looking at? Are we looking at going back and having everybody do a surcharge on their spouses?
Yeah, every employee.
It's a program where if your spouse is participating in the plan right now and chooses to continue participating come January 1/14, and they are eligible for group insurance at their employer, waive that coverage, stay on over here, that they would pay that $100 surcharge.
In
So it's
addition
for
to
everybody.
in addition to the normal premium.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Lynn, if I understand right, if they are actually insured at their other plan and they elect to have
This one is secondary?
this one
no
is secondary,
surcharge.
then they pay the standard rate.
Right.
You understand that? So that if it is free at their employer and they are primary, then we do not charge that surcharge because they did not waive off of the spousal employer's plan.
We're becoming the primary and sole coverage for everybody.
I mean,
Being secondary.
In looking at the studies, we believe that people will
pay
be
it.
willing to pay the $100 because our coverage is so rich.
Absolutely.
And that we believe that they're going to, for the most part, choose to continue with us and pay the surcharge.
Ms. Hines?
It's all very complex, but we can reevaluate this.
Absolutely.
And we do really on a yearly basis.
Absolutely.
So, you know, while we implement this, at this time, we could revise it at a later date.
And you make a very valid point, Ms. Hines, because so much is changing in the health industry as far as insurance right now, every year. It has a definite effect on what we do with our plan and how it affects us financially. So we have to keep making adjustments as each year comes up because something else is being asked of us.
But it is very complex.
Yes, very much.
You couldn't be implementing a dependent surcharge at a better time for the sheer reason that more employers are going to be giving more favorable opportunity because of the mandate. Some of these spouses, these other companies out there that haven't been providing affordable, essential coverage are going to do so now, which so if that's the case, they'll take that coverage and they won't have to pay the surcharge.
Correct.
And if we have a spouse that chooses to go and take it for their place of employment instead, that's okay too.
Right. Yeah, they can stay there.
Correct.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Seeing none, any from the public? All right, let's take a vote. Now, this is voting on the motion for the spousal surcharge. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
2 abstentions. Ms. Seeley and Ms. Bellisario. So ordered. Okay, we got one more, Jack?
Yes, sir. Recommend implementation of employee premium adjustments effective January 1st, 2015, based on elimination of the deficit balance from the group health plan, subject to the affordability provisions of the Affordable Health Care Act.
You so move. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jeter. Questions from the board members? Okay. Seeing none, any questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Ms. Bellisario abstains. So ordered. Wow. Okay. We're going to go now, thank God, to the end of the year review. Mr. Foles, what a year. What a night.
I know, I realize the time is late, and I'll try to go through this as quickly as possible. But I think it is important. I know sometimes we don't take enough time to stop and celebrate the successes that we've had. We started after our first year as superintendent to take a year in review and just share with this board and our staff and everyone what we had accomplished over the years. Sometimes you forget. It seems like so long ago, and this certainly has been a year to do that. Before we do that, let me thank my wife for being here, her once-a-year trip to the school board office. And for the first time ever, I have my 2 stepsons that are here to take in. That's David in the white and Jack in the red. They always wonder what I'm doing up here late at night, so they said they'd come up and see themselves tonight. Yeah, sure they did. We started at the beginning of the summer, at the end of the summer, with our administrators conference. Everybody got a Team St. Tammany t-shirt, board members included as well, and this was just an opportunity for everybody to get together, kind of refresh ourselves as we move forward. You remember our theme this year was cultural competency. We had Coco Battle, who was a former student of mine at Slidell High School, is now an attorney, come and speak to our group. And of course, we all recognize and remember Dr. Frances Davis, who works for us as the helps us with personnel and minority hiring. She works in the HR department at Gwinnett County outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and serves as one of our community ambassadors and works with Dorable and Pete and others to make sure that we're on the right track as we move forward with the cultural competency. Then on the Friday, right after we were finished with our administrators retreat, we went to Baton Rouge, and we had a teacher, Mandy Warren, who was named Teacher of the Year for the entire state of Louisiana, Middle School Teacher of the Year. And then Mary Jane Smith was recognized as Honey Island Principal was recognized as Regional Principal of the Year. Both of these ladies certainly did a great job throughout the school year of representing our school system when called upon by the state as Teachers of the Year. First day of school is always a great day. This is one of my favorite pictures forever. This boy told me that his mom made him wear his Mohawk regular color that day. All summer long he had worn it green, he said, but his mom made him wear it regular. The other part about this I just love, this was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and as you can see, he still had his backpack on. And I asked him, he said, just in case I need to leave. So he was ready to be there for the day, but he was ready to leave if he needed to. Right after that, we had a great honor from our school system, legendary coach from Covington High School, Jack Salter, was inducted into the Louisiana Hall of Fame, and along that same week, we attended a ceremony where Covington High School kicked off their centennial celebration for the entire year, and they had a great year with that celebration. And this was the whole student body out in the football stadium, brought back alumni and others to help release the balloons. It was really a well-planned, great experience at this school. We continue to commit ourselves to the PTA training sessions. Our PTA continues to make up the membership of over 50%, the entire state of Louisiana. You can see Miss Robin Mullet and Miss Mary Kay were right there listening to what we were saying, and they actually did workshop presentations themselves earlier in that morning, so it was nice to have them there with that support as well. Our PTA is important to us, and we continue to grow that relationship. Each of us realize how important it is to stop and honor all the great things that we have going on in our school system. The Kelly Cook Foundation winners were recognized. The Chris Duhon Scholarships, as we remember, gives $5,000 scholarships every year to these outstanding students. And then you can remember the great speeches that the FFA students gave and all the different awards that the FFA students received throughout the school year. Then Hurricane Isaac came along. This was a funny picture sent to me. This is assistant principal in Pearl River, taken by his principal as they were spending the night up there at the school at Creekside. Team St. Tammany t-shirt by Adam was wearing that. And then you can see the picture of the briefings. Pat Brister has been a great partner with the school system, includes us in everything, but it's important too. We do our part. You know, all of our schools are used for shelters. They involve us and they allow us to communicate our message out as well. And then, of course, central office staff met here to plan for Hurricane Isaac, and we had great participation as we put our plan in place. Patriot Day continues to be recognized and honored throughout the parish, and Marty Gould and others, and Gene Balisario and Jerry Bender, Richard Tanner, Dennis Sharp, all those people from the parish, as well as Pat Brister, continue to make sure the school system is important. Matter of fact, tonight our principals of the year were honored at a parish council meeting, and here they honored Mandy Warren for being named Teacher of the Year for the entire state of Louisiana. The retirees. Marion Aerosmith is now the president of that group, following with the great work that Mr. Loop has done. And Mr. Loop can tell you Marion has really rallied the troops well, and he has spoken to them. Other people have spoken to him as well. And that's a group that's very, very supportive of our school system, and it's a group that we need to make sure that we always honor and recognize. And we try to go twice a year to speak to their groups and share with them the things that are going on as a school system. Also got the opportunity to visit Magnolia Trace and to read to their students. And then the ACT scores came out, and we were #1 in the state of Louisiana. Again, certainly very proud of that. As you can see here, this is our parish score, our state score, and then we're above the national average as well. Many people will tell you that the ACT score is the #1 indicator of college readiness, and I can tell you as we were on the campaign trail for these millage renewals, that statistic resonates throughout this parish. People, business people, others understand and can relate to ACT test scores. It hits home with them, so it's always a number that's important to our school system, and we continue to sponsor the college and career fair as well. The new minority teacher reception under Dorable's leadership continues to grow. Our numbers continue to grow there. Our challenges always continue there, and we commit ourselves to doing what we need to hire good, strong minority applicants in our school system. And then we recognize our perfect attendance people at a reception, give them a certificate, thank them for their efforts, and congratulating them for going the whole school year without missing any work time. Ribbon cuttings, you know, we had Chevron here earlier. These are all Chevron projects. Chevron's amazing, you know, $1.7 million, and then they bring a check tonight for $50,000. I had absolutely no idea that they were coming with that check. The STEM lab at Fontainebleau High, the STEM lab at Mandeville Junior High, the grant at Covington Elementary School, they're fantastic. We want to continue to grow that partnership, and you can see by the efforts that what they brought forth tonight is something that's available to this school system. They also were involved with as they mentioned tonight, the planting of the gardens at Florida Avenue. in Abney Elementary School as well, and they shared with the building of the planters, the gardeners, and they picked up all the supply costs for the materials that go along with that. Read for the Record is a national day that across the country a book is chosen, and this past year we went to 3 different schools and read for the record, and certainly it reminds you of what you're here for and gets you out of the office and makes you realize how important it is to get into the schools and see the students and realize no matter what's all the other stuff that goes on sometimes, that the most important thing is what's happening in the classroom when the teacher shuts the door and does the day-to-day instruction. Our parish fair, you can see Mr. Derman, Mr. Loop were there along with the mayor, Pat Brister. Our parish fair is awesome. It continues to grow. Meredith does a job with the booths, and we continue to get rave reviews from the people that are there, and our participation in that is so very important to the school system and to the community. Transportation, Kathy started 2 years ago doing a whole transportation workshop where she brings in different speakers. Certainly is well received and allows us to honor and recognize our bus drivers in attendance. Also allows them to hear from people like Jack Strain and others that can speak to them, share their stories, and help them realize the importance of good, strong, safe transportation throughout our parish. We recognized our principals of the year and our teachers of the year at a reception that each of you attended, and then we recognized them here at the board meeting as well. And then we did our school lunch week. I wish Mr. Ray was here tonight. He was pictured with his Uncle Sam cap on and served lunch that day at one of our school lunches, and we appreciate their efforts with that. And then we started this. This is our second year of doing this. It's really, really a nice activity, and I thank each of you for coming to that. We honor each of the teachers of the year. We just thought they get honored at their school, but we just thought that that wasn't enough, that we need to bring them to somewhere and honor them. They actually get to have an hour-long lunch. These teachers never get an hour lunch. We leave the principals and assistant principals at the school, so it's the teachers only. We have a PowerPoint slide that we put together on each one of them. We bring them up. We have their picture taken with their school board member. And I can tell you the feedback I get from these teachers for this one little simple, inexpensive luncheon is powerful, just for them to be recognized and thanked for their efforts at their schools. So it's something that we continue to grow. The first year, our attendance was not as good. Last year, the second year, the attendance was great, and we'll continue to grow that, and we need your participation as that as well, because it's important to them to see you there as well, and I know it means a lot to them. The community connection continues. You remember we talked about Slidell Junior High donating the flag, and then remember we had Salmon High School teacher and the students that were here. The World War II Museum actually bought the Monopoly game. It's actually the official game of the World War II Museum now, and it was started by a teacher at Salmon High School and their students, and it's great publicity and connection for the school system. Then the first ever letter grade came out under the new system. We received an A. Like I've always said to you, and I tell the students, and I tell teachers and principals and assistant principals that I do not want our school system to ever be defined by only a letter grade. I hope we're by a lot more than a letter grade or a test score. But if they're going to give letter grades and they're going to give test scores, we certainly want to do the best that we can. We have concerns next year moving forward with the letter grades, with the 2 letter grades, which one they're going to use, how it's going to be used. There was a big discussion about that today. But we're going to continue to fight, and we're going to continue to work hard to do everything we can as a system to get good test scores, get good letter grades, and make sure that we're reaching every child every day in the classroom. Our district performance score was 122.8. It is the highest in the state with school districts of over 20,000 students. Certainly proud of that, and we continue to work hard to maintain that as much as possible. The Special Olympics is an elementary one as well as the high school. And as I've told you before, if you've never been to that, there's nothing that touches your heart more than to see these students participating with the same enthusiasm as the students that you would see at a Friday night on a football field. Our talented art department continues to impress us, what they do, as well as with the entertainment they provide to us before board meetings. And then this is always something that really is important to our school system. The 2 chambers have the education days. And for a lot of times, this is the first time that these people and these these different groups and these community members are in our schools. They come first and see our technology, and then they go out into the individual schools. And to a person, they write back or they tell us back, to Mary Kay and Mr. John and others like that. They had no idea that this was going on at the schools. They had no idea what was going on at Lee Road, that we raised animals, and they go to different places and they're just blown away with the technology, things that we take for granted every day in our schools that we have and that are available to our teachers and to our students. They are blown away by that, and they come back to us and are really impressed. So it takes a lot of planning on our part. We spend a lot of time, but this is a great community connection as well, that we're touching these people that have never been in our schools before, and now they're going out and speaking highly about what we have going on. Red Ribbon Week continues to grow in our school system, and we continue to celebrate that throughout the parish. We had our presidential election. Be quite honest with you, I think 4 years ago we made some mistakes with the presidential election. I am very proud of how we handled the election this time around. We formed committees, we brought in community members, we brought in administrators. Some of the mistakes we made 4 years ago, we did not repeat this time around, and I think because of the way we had built into our lesson plans and the requirements we had in place and our expectations, it was a very uneventful election from that point of view, and certainly everyone got to participate in the process without doing or saying things that would be offensive to either side. Black and gold is one of our 4 things. Whenever we do one of these, we average 15, 16, 17, you saw it tonight, $16,000, $17,000. Our people are amazing with that. The Black and Gold Day that we have goes towards our Children's Museum. We're finally starting to see some results of the museum on a small scale that they're going to start at the Trace, and then they will build on that as they go along. Here we are again with the Hornets, and Chevron working with us, and Shell this time has jumped in as well to hold a reading rally at Mayfield Elementary. And I think when other groups see Chevron doing different things, that they need to do things as well, so that can only benefit us as we move forward. Veterans Day program is always very nice. I think this is Mr. Betancourt up there at the podium now speaking. It's important that we honor our veterans. You remember St. Tammany Junior High's band did a great job for a junior high band, and then all across the parish we have Veterans Day programs. Very important that we never forget that as well. The Parish Council, again in support of us, brought us to a council meeting, recognized our A letter grade, and then we had our educators that were honored by the state PTA. Our PTA is amazing across the state, and certainly holds leadership roles in president, vice president, and many other offices there as well. Had 2 wonderful ribbon cuttings, Folsom Junior High, Fifth Ward Junior High. Both of those facilities are amazing. The work that was done by Cameron, Sammy, the group, the leadership that goes with that, both of these facelifts are very important to a school. And I know we say, and I know it's important, that when you shut the door and the instruction in the classroom is the most important thing, but I can tell you a nice building, a refurbished, a refreshed building goes a long way about how a student, how a teacher, how a parent feels about where their child is going to school. And I know this board is committed to doing that, as evidenced by this new millage package that was just passed, and we'll continue to take care of our schools because our community expects us to do that. And I think we have a very good track record of maintaining the facilities that are entrusted to us by our public. Christmas comes around, and we always have a good time here with our Christmas ceremonies and activities. And this past year, we had Slidell High School's choir come and sing to us one day at lunch, and then we had the Covington Elementary students sing to us as well, and we always look forward to those visits. We continue to lead this parish and this state in our technology efforts. We did that at the end of this year, and at the end of this year, we honored and recognized Mr. Luke for his years of service as the board president, and we certainly thanked him for that. We reach out to others, as evidenced by the letters that we sent to the Train of Hope, the $17,000 that was raised for the museum, and the United Way donations of $155,000. Our United Way donations have gone over $1 million from this school system through the years. With this $155,000 here, we went over $1 million. we will be meeting with the United Way people soon, with Bill Brady retiring. It was certainly that was near and dear to his heart. And we'll be meeting with them to formulate a plan as we move forward to continue the great results of giving back to our community. John White brought a check to the school board office and recognized our top gain schools, and we had each one of those principals as well as a teacher from those schools is there. I was just been notified this week that Bessie board members will be coming to visit some of these top gain schools, so we'll certainly be getting in touch with you as we formulate a schedule and decide which schools we're going to have them visit. State Treasurer John Kennedy substitute taught at Madisonville Junior High School and spoke to the faculty and staff and students there about his role as the state treasurer and what that involves. This is a program that Beth Lane is heavily involved in. This is a program that I think that we're going to look back on a few years from now and realize how very important this literacy project can be to our school system. It's an opportunity for parents and others to be involved as we help them learn how important it is for them to share literacy with their children. Started out as across the country as a movement. We're doing it in pediatricians' offices across this parish now. In the very beginning stages, we have some great partnerships with the hospitals and doctors and others, and I really, really believe that this will be a program that's going to bring great, great benefits to our school system as we move forward. If you remember, Mr. Harrell and Chris Uthneck, Chris had the comment of the NFL comes to Bush, Louisiana. Fifth Ward Junior High won the Play 60 Challenge as part of the Super Bowl visit. They got to go to the Super Bowl experience. They got Xbox Connects that were donated to their schools. And all of us remember how Peggy Sharp basically elbowed me out of the way to get next to Jimmy Graham and have her picture taken with Jimmy Graham. He told some of the other people there that night that the best block he had seen all year by the Saints was the one that Peggy Sharp put on me to get next to him at the picture. So we had a good time with him. He stuck around forever. He did a good job, signed tons of autographs, and Mr. Harrell can tell you it had Fifth Ward a buzz, that whole area. It was a really nice presentation to them as well. Caps for Kids, it's important, touches your heart every time we have someone come and share that experience with them. And then the Lead Academy is an opportunity for us to share with people that want to be prospective administrators, the different things that go along with being an administrator, and helps them decide if they do indeed want to move forward with that career goal in mind. Read Across America is another opportunity to get into the schools and read to the students. We had guest readers, whether it be mayors, whether it be city council people, the chief of police, the sheriffs, all come to our schools and participate in the Read Across America program. And then after many years of hard work by many different people, the gymnasium at Covington High School was dedicated and honored to Coach Hubie Gallagher, a member of the Louisiana High School Hall of Fame, very, very famous coach who touched many, many people's lives, and it was a great community connection to see all those people coming back, talking about Coach Gallagher, talking about Covington High School and how he had touched their lives. And you can see we had a good turnout of board members. We had great community support. And Pat Gallagher, his sister, were both there and very, very, very appreciative of this board for recognizing their father in such a positive way. We had our legislators come and visit our cafeterias. Pat Ferris put that together, and she put them to work when they got there, and we certainly were glad that they could come and see some of the many great things that we have going on in our school system, as well as a leadership class, St. Tammany, much like the chamber groups, Education Day, opportunity to get people in our school system that would never be there for any other reason. Our annual Mardi Gras Parade comes past our school board office, Covington Elementary School. Bayou Lacombe Organic Garden wins a grant. Great things going on with their test scores at Bayou Lacombe. Patrick Wood and others there, as well as the feeder schools, saw some really strong gains and improvements this year, and we're certainly proud of them. We continue to celebrate Black history. We have made it a goal and a challenge that we don't want Black History to be Black History Month. We think it's important as part of our cultural competency that we continue to recognize great Americans and things that they've done throughout the school year, and that's what we tried to do this year as well. Our National Board Certified Employees were recognized at a board meeting, and then for the 100th and some odd straight year, our district has received financial reporting awards. Terry Fortenberry, Cheryl Airby do a great job of coordinating that. And certainly we do not take those honors for granted. It takes a lot of hard work to get them and a strong commitment, and we're certainly proud of their efforts for that. Our fine arts, every time up on that stage before board meetings, it's amazing the amount of talent and abilities we have in our student bodies, whether it be playing the instruments, whether it be poetry reading, whether it be drama, whatever it is, we are blown away each month by them. Mr. Harrell put on the serving cap and served at a school as well as we celebrated Breakfast Week and State School Lunch Week. Fitness Awards, Peggy Sharp, we actually had 2 overall state winners this year in Baton Rouge at the Fitness Awards, and we're continuing to grow that. And I've talked to you about this before. I know Ms. Tipton has been at this Special Olympics that are held with the Bulldog Buddies at Fountainblue High School, one of the most meaningful things that you'll ever experience. And I encourage you all, if you have the opportunity to go to see the special needs students and the regular education students working hand by hand to compete on this track where everybody's a winner. Is a special day as well. Then we had an unbelievable, exciting, we shared the video here, and we had the team with us at a school board meeting. Salmon High School girls basketball team won a state championship and brought great publicity and recognition to our school system. There's a girl on the team, she's 16 years old, just found out that last week she was chosen to represent in the 16-year-old group a team that will play across the United States. Is basically a 16-year-old Olympic team. And the Brown girl, who is the daughter of P.J. Brown, and the DeWanna Jackson, who coaches at Salmon, their daughter was chosen for that honor, and it's a huge honor and will bring great publicity to our school system. Dorable came up with a great idea to have a college career workshop at Salmon High School to help people realize the different opportunities that are available for minorities as we move forward. We started it small. We learned a lot about things that we can do better the next time around, but it's a great start, and I think next year's will be even better. Junior Olympics were held for the junior high students as well, and then Mandeville High School and Salmon High were recognized at a Hornets game. Mathlete, Chevron, brought them out to center court, each one of those students, and gave them an award and presentation at halftime of a Hornets game. Continue to give back. $17,000 donated to Caps for Kids over this past year. And then this year we had 14 National Merit finalists, 14. An amazing number. 9 of them came from North Shore High School. Certainly proud of North Shore and what they're doing with that. But to have 14 across the parish is quite an honor. And this is another one of those, just like ACT scores. When I talked about that at these community meetings and I said national merit, people can relate to that. And we told them how many we had. It certainly was important to them. Our PTA, we got to swear in the new officers. And then Leslie Martin was named the PTA Principal of the Year. And I think it was yesterday that I sent an email to you all that Leslie Martin has now been chosen as a state finalist for Principal of the Year for the entire state of Louisiana. We think there's about 5 or 6 people that have made the finalists. She will go to Baton Rouge. She'll have to do a presentation. She'll have to do an essay. She'll do a question and answer. And if you know Leslie, she'll be fired up and happy to go. And she's excited, and I don't want to jinx it, but I certainly think that she has a great opportunity of being a state winner. But just to get to that finalist thing is something that we're all certainly very proud of. Everyone loves a pat on the back. I think that's important that we do that. We do that with our substitutes of the year, support employees of the year, as well as our students of the year were recognized. We had a great group of student of the year that represented us well at the state level. And then at Fountainblue High School, Ms. Tipton and I got up about 4:30 in the morning, and NBC Education Nation visited Fountainblue High School. They did actual live broadcast From there, they had the cheerleaders out there, we had the dance team, we had the culinary arts, we had the Pro Start Kitchen. All that went live across the whole metropolitan area. Actually, it was so well received that the NBC national feed picked up and shared some of that across the country. And then we added Mayfield Elementary and Lancaster Elementary to our USDA Gold Awards of Distinction. We continue to lead the nation. We have more schools than any school system in the country that has the USDA Gold Awards of Distinction. I mentioned to you that our students did well in the Student of the Year. They did so well that John Mitchell was chosen the Student of the Year for the entire state of Louisiana from Pearl River High School. And what an amazing story he is totally committed to his mom and dad, his family, had opportunities to go to other places, to go to school on full scholarships, chose to stay at home and attend LSU to be close to his parents and to help them as he moves forward. He's a great example of the many wonderful students we have in our school system. And then Chase LeMay was awesome. He was recognized as Regional Student of the Year, and I think that we'll be hearing and seeing a lot more from Chase in this school system as we move forward. The ribbon cutting at Harrison Curriculum Center was fabulous. Many of you were there for that. That connection we made that day with those people was amazing. Just for them to be recognized and honored, and for the Harrison name to continue to be there, for Rosenwald to be discussed. Board members, you were there as we talked to the people, and we said that in that room that was packed with people when we talked about that this is what public education is all about. And we continue to receive great feedback from the many people from there, and the thanks to this board and others for stepping up, spending the money, recognizing the importance of the Curriculum Center there, recognizing the importance of Rosenwald, recognizing the importance of that part of the town of Covington to put a facility like that and to maintain a facility like that is so very important to our community. We had our first ever Community Connections reception where we brought in one volunteer from each school and honored and recognized them and thanked them for their efforts at the individual schools. And then, for the second time in the 3 years that we've been in this superintendent's position, we passed a millage renewal and election. 2 of them in the last 3 years. Very, very proud of that. It takes a lot of hard work from everybody in this room, including all you board members and everything you did for that. And what I'm so very proud of as well on that is those names across the bottom there, those endorsements. North Shore Business Council, St. Tammany Chamber West, St. Tammany Chamber East, League of Women Voters. To think in 3 years' time, the strides that we've made with those groups are amazing. And it's because we took it slow, we had a commitment, we were transparent in what we were doing, we listened to what they had to say, we worked with them, we shared with them our challenges, we were honest with them about the things that we had going on that were giving us a hard time. And because of that, people like the North Shore Business Council has great credibility in this parish, step forward, and then the chambers, and then the league. And I really, truly believe because of those endorsements, because of our track record, because of the efforts we put forth, we were able to pass these millages. There are 5 different school systems in this state that did not have millages renewed in May. We're extremely fortunate that we were able to have ours renewed, and it's because of the support that our community gives us, the trust that they have in us. And now the challenge is to take what we said we would do and commit ourselves to doing it, and we are certainly committed to doing that. And as we build forward with these groups, we continue to work hard with them to make them a part of that community connection. Our high school graduations, many people say, you know, that's a long week, that's a hard week, but it's the best week of the year. It's the best week of the year because it's what we're all about. It's an opportunity to go to all 8 of these graduations, to see these students, to give them their pin that says their class, and they wear those pins with pride. And then the caps and gowns go up in the air, and you see the parents, the grandparents. You hear the speeches. Each one of y'all that were at graduations, the speeches by our students are amazing. You hear them sing. The talents that they have are amazing. You see the valedictorians and salutatorians and honor graduates go to the front of the podium, and you hear their achievements and their accomplishments, and you hear about all the colleges and the universities they're going to. And it just makes you excited and looking forward to doing it over again next year. So even though it's a long week and it's 8 nights in 10 days time. It's the best week of the year, and it just reinforces that we are indeed making a difference and that we have an opportunity to touch so many, many lives. And I'm certainly proud of all the graduates, and I know we're going to be hearing, as we look back, we're going to be hearing from many of them as they go across in their careers and the success that they will have in the rest of their life. Just last month, we recognized the Mandeville High School girls tennis team for their Division I state championship. You heard about how many of those had repeated. They almost have a dynasty going on over there with tennis, and certainly proud of them as well. We gave our Superintendent's Award, then we gave the Lancaster Elementary Little Citizens Award. Just another opportunity working with Capital One to recognize the efforts of students and community members to make that connection with our school system. And then just this past Saturday, another award that's important, I think, to our school system. The Greater Covington NAACP honored our school system for the work that we have done. Francis Dunn spoke at the meeting, and one of the things that they spoke about the most was our commitment to Harrison, commitment to the community, and commitment to Rosenwald, and recognizing that this is important to our school system. If we're going to continue to be the kind of school system that encompasses everyone and meets the needs of every child every day, we need the support of organizations like the NAACP, and I certainly was honored by the plaque and the kind words that Ms. Dunn had to say that night at that reception. And then just last week, Bill Brady gave 46 years of his life to the school system. He actually showed up in my office today, and I said, "What you been doing?" And he told me he spent the last 2 days trying to get his cell phone number switched over to his new phone. So he said life is pretty good, life is easy. He said the dog has not realized that he's retired yet, so he's still up early in the morning walking the dog. But I mean, when you think about 46 years, seriously, and a commitment that he has to the school system, it's a special time. And people like Bill Brady are hard to find, and we certainly look forward to honoring him this summer when his children can come in town and thank him once again for his years of service to our school system. And then we closed it with what we live by every day in this school system, and it's every child every day. And that means many different things to many different people. You know, we're up to about 50% of our population are free and reduced lunch right now, 50%. And when I talk to a bunch of the communities, and I talk to the Rotary and the Kiwanis and the Lions Club, and I share with them that 1 out of every 2 of our kids qualify for free reduced lunch, it's just a quiet across the room. They don't realize that, and it's good that we share that information for them. And you've heard me say this before, for many of our kids, the best meals they get all day are the meals that are served by our cafeteria workers. For many of our kids, the most comfortable they are all day are in our classrooms, sitting in our classroom with heating and air conditioning works. And for many of our kids, the only good job, thank you, I love you, they get is from that teacher in that classroom. So every child every day means something different to every child in our school system, almost 39,000 of them. And I guarantee you that everybody that sits in this room is committed to making sure that we do our very, very, very best to continue to make sure that we meet the needs of every child every day. Letter grades are important, test scores are important, but the most important thing we can do as a school system is to do our best to meet the needs of every child every day. It's been a great year. I thank everyone in this room. We have an amazing staff. The staff continues to get smaller and smaller, but the staff continues to work harder and harder. I'm truly blessed to have people like Cheryl Araby and Pete Jabbia working alongside me, as well as all the staff members that are here. And truly am blessed to work for school board members such as you that allow us the opportunities to do everything we can do as a school system to meet the needs of every child every day. I thank you for a great year. I looked at my phone today. It said 69 days to the first day of school. So we're already ready for that and preparing for that. But I think it's important tonight, even at the late hour, to stop and recognize the many things that we've accomplished and the great year it has been for this school system and the students that we are so privileged to serve each and every day. Thank you very much.
Mr. Foltz, I don't think you're going to be the only one who gets to talk tonight, so Ms. Heinz.
Mr. Foltz, we really appreciate that year in review. It's interesting when the year seemed to go by so quickly, and there were many activities that I'd forgotten about that happened this school year. But one thing I do know is that your leadership this year and has just been fantastic. We really appreciate it. You do a great job. You're very dedicated, and obviously you're here for the children. We know you don't do it alone. We appreciate Miss Araby, Mr. Jabbia, and Mr. Brady, and of course all of you here in this room. Mr. Foltz is right when he says that everyone likes a pat on the back, and that might be all we have to offer. It's just a little pat on the back, applause, but we want you to know that we know how hard you all work every day, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Heinz. I too want to echo those sentiments, but I also want to include Patty and the boys, because we really do take him away from y'all a lot, but hey, he's used to it, so I guess y'all got to get used to it. But anyhow, we do thank you, and Trey, what a great job. I mean, we look at this, and it just seems like that's 4 or 5 years worth of activities, and that's not everything. I mean, that's just a snapshot. And, I mean, it's just amazing how much goes on a day-to-day basis in this great school system. And under your leadership, it's really, really blossomed. So for all of us, I know I thank you, and keep up the work. And tomorrow morning, we'll expect you here. Okay, anybody else want to say anything? I think we have announcements from the president. Ms. Heinz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board will meet again on Thursday, June 13th at 7 p.m. for the regular board meeting. The regular board meeting will be followed by a special board meeting for the purpose of the superintendent's performance review. That meeting will be held in executive session. Board members, I have a packet for you this evening for you to fill out the performance. So if you'd take a minute to stop by and pick up your packet. It's a short turnaround. I'm going to ask that you fill it out and mail it back to me. There's a stamped envelope included in there. And there's also a memo. The continuation of the May 30th tenure hearing will be held on Tuesday, June 18th, beginning at 7 p.m. Board members who were in attendance at the May 30th tenure hearing should plan to attend the June 18th tenure hearing. And we really need everyone here for that, all 9 of you that were here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Heinz. Seeing no further business come before the board, we're adjourned. Thank you all very much.